Peace, I'm Captain Untamed Oracle, and today I'm going to be talking about the huge divide between men and women. It wasn't a choice, it was actually something that was socially engineered by rewiring our brains and nervous systems. This is the science behind this. Men who live in survival mode operate on dopamine. The chase, the next hit, the next thrill, something that excites them. But once the honeymoon phase ends, something else is supposed to kick in, and that's vasopressin. This hormone is the hormone that deepens bonding in men. But here's the problem. A lot of black men have been living in survival mode for generations. Chronic stress, trauma, systemic oppression have literally altered their brain's development, especially the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain that's responsible for emotional regulation and impulse control. Women, on the other hand, we have larger corpus callosum. That's the bridge between the brain's hemispheres, which means, in simple terms, we process emotions differently. We feel more deeply and we connect more holistically. This isn't a choice, this is just biology, and it has been shaped and reshaped through different traumatic experiences. This is really important because every relationship exists because of a man and a woman that got together. Every human that exists is for this reason. And this is the reason that the black family has been dismantled and socially engineered to not be able to operate in a way that allows thrival and safety. A lot of men are starved for connection. Sex became the only way that they knew to regulate their emotions. And a lot of women became the sponge and the emotional regulator, the manager of everybody's feelings. But now we are too sick to function. 80% of autoimmune cases are women. Lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, multiple sclerosis, connective tissue disorders. Women are 4 times more likely to develop autoimmune disorders than men. Most of us are undiagnosed because healthcare doesn't provide the same care for women as it does for men. We have been dismissed. We have been gaslit. We have been told it's just stress or it's all in your head. It's just anxiety. See, colonization left scars on us and they're invisible, but the damage is now obvious to see. There is no way for us to unsee this. We're here now. The biological evidence of epigenetics, which is trauma that's passed down through our DNA, it's a lot deeper. In autopsies, male DNA was found embedded in the brains of women. And some of these women have never had children. So this is like fetal micro, it's like basically a woman's brain has absorbed the energy of the man, of the unprocessed trauma, of the unprocessed pain, whatever he has not dealt with. And now it lives in her womb and her brain and in her nervous system. The worst part about this is co-regulation, which is the capacity to sit with difficult conversations. This determines the depth of any relationship. But if he's stuck in survival mode and she's stuck in management mode, hypervigilant mode, nobody's really regulating. Everybody is just drowning. And being in a relationship with CPTSD is complex and it requires shadow work. Not just talking, not just therapy, but it requires deep excavation. From a spiritual standpoint, because that's always the root of everything that exists in the physical world, I teach this from a spiritual perspective because the science alone is not going to heal us. It's finally proven what we've already known. Most men are starving for connection. And because sex was the only way that they learned to feel anything, that's usually what they reach for. But women are starving for safety. Women are hungry for somebody who can be with them in intense moments where they're experiencing emotions. But the truth is, we cannot heal what we cannot feel. And you can't feel what you have been subconsciously taught to suppress. So there's a lot of distraction, a lot of noise, but at the end of the day, the willingness to sit in the discomfort of who you have become so you can finally become who you were meant to be. Relationships is a conversation that I can't stop having because everything that exists in this world exists because of some form of relationship. A lot of people in the Black or indigenous community, we've been living in survival mode. We are hyper vigilant. We do keep our head on a swivel at all times. And even if we're sitting still, we're not truly resting. A lot of women are burnt out, have chronic fatigue, have pain every day, sometimes for no reason that you can figure out. And a lot of men, because they don't know how to create and or sustain healthy connection through co-regulation, meaning I don't have to leave you if you're upset with me about something. I can sit with you even if you're upset with me. Being able to co-regulate is something that is rooted in our childhood. And if we didn't get co-regulation through our parents or our caregivers, we're less likely to know how to do it. For a lot of women, we know how to regulate other people really well, but we're having to learn how to save ourselves before we try to save others. So in any relationship, you're gonna have different phases that you go through. I really feel like emotional intelligence is something that would have benefited us to learn in school as children. It's just as important as math. It's just as important as grammar, because everything in your life is going to be impacted by your relationships and by the way that you deal with conflict and resolution. My heart goes out to men and women because none of us asked to be victims of social engineering, to be victims of generational trauma, to be descendants of those who were slaves, or just descendants of those who were mistreated. Still here in 2026, getting health care for women, especially indigenous women, is difficult. It's not something that is just something that I've went through, but I read the comments. Y'all see the videos popping up. We're having the conversations now that we've been needing to have. And I hear a lot of people saying that I've given up. I don't want to be married ever, or I don't even want to be in a relationship, or I'm happy and I'm single, and it's good to be able to make peace with where you are. But at the end of the day, we are a people who thrive in community. You don't thrive in an echo chamber, just sitting with yourself. We need community. We need one another. We need to have these conversations to be able to heal, to be able to overcome them, to be able to end generational curses. And it is so easy for men to point the finger at women and for women to point the finger at men. That's what they want us to do. Because if we're divided, they can conquer over us. And it is heartbreaking to think about the burden that women have carried across many generations. And a lot of us don't understand why it's difficult for men to co-regulate, to come up with solutions to issues without having a meltdown or without going silent and shutting down. It can be difficult to wrap your mind around why it seems like somebody is more focused on how they were wronged versus how to make the situation better. It can be difficult when you know that this person that you're dealing with is someone that loves you and you love them, but it just seems like y'all are on two different pages. Y'all are on two different timelines, and you can't find a happy medium. It is difficult. And a lot of men don't know that women do not thrive from dopamine. We thrive from oxytocin. And oxytocin is what gives our nervous system a sense of safety. So a lot of men don't know how to be a safe space for themselves, so they can't be a safe space like they want to for their women and their children. And they could be really good at everything else. And we could see it and feel like we're not experiencing the best version of our partner, and vice versa. What I wish we would have known before, I wish we would have known that being indigenous and getting into relationships and starting families means you were probably already in a nervous system state of survival mode. And so you're trying to handle all of the things that life brings, all of the things that's happening in the world simultaneously as you are trying to handle being in a relationship. And it is exhausting. It can be heartbreaking. And sometimes we're grieving, but we're still having to show up. We're still having to take care of our responsibilities. We don't really have the time to grieve. You know, it's like, where am I going to squeeze that in? I'm barely getting through the day. And a lot of women have given so much of themselves to the point where they really don't know who they are outside of being a mother or being a wife. And if you happen to be the eldest daughter of the family, or a parentified daughter or parentified son, somebody who took on responsibilities early on, somebody who grew up in chaos, where from one day to another, you never really knew what was going to be happening. That is the truth for a lot of us. And now we're in the fallout of all of that. All of this spiritual talk is beautiful, but if we don't learn how to regulate our nervous systems, that impacts what we manifest, and we end up mismanifesting. What we see happening in the world, it can be healed through us individually doing the work. Alchemy is all about taking experiences that probably damn near broke you. You may be in the middle of something now, and you don't feel like you can continue to go on. I get it. But at the end of the day, we have resilience. We are extremely intelligent, and we are able to heal what the previous generations weren't even aware of. We have the tools, we have the knowledge, we have the access. What we don't have is community. A lot of us don't have people that we can talk to. Religion has been used to keep us divided. It's almost as if we can't even be friends. We can't be close. We can't have conversations if we have different beliefs spiritually. And this is setting us back. And this is why I had Dr. Blind on the show discuss the functionary, and we touched on this on Father's Day. Because as we enter into this cycle with Gemini, Uranus, and the positioning of this cycle, it is the exact same astrological energy from the Civil War. But now the Civil War isn't the North versus the South. It is the mind versus the heart. The ego versus your authentic self. It is the male versus the female. And we're seeing this now, and the pressure is not easing up. The pressure is being put on us by so many things that are collapsing that we could once depend on. So it seemed, but it was an illusion. As someone who's been in a relationship for 11 years with a man that I love dearly, there are some days where I feel like I don't even want to talk to him. There are some days where it's difficult for him to be around me energetically. So going through these spiritual activations, having to grieve the old you so that you can become a better version of yourself. Within that, there's a Negrito phase of alchemy. And in that phase, you're called to confront your shadows. You're called to get to know your inner demons. Know them so well that they aren't sabotaging your life, your reality, your relationships, your finances, your health. Religion taught us for women to be looked at as helpers, child bearers. And that's really it. The patriarchy really set us back. And the imbalance created what we see now as these epidemics of health issues, mental health issues. Men in their 50s are having to be put in nursing homes, having cardiovascular issues. All of this is always, and I know that's a black and white term, but I use that very consciously. Always, we can look back to relationships as one of the ways to pinpoint root causes of a lot of the things that are happening in society today. We do not benefit from being at each other's throats. And I know that a lot of women are angry at the way men have treated them, probably beginning with your own daddy. I know that a lot of men don't know how to be with women, and they don't know how to communicate their feelings in a healthy way. And they reach for anything that's going to give them that dopamine hit. And this does not allow bonding to happen. And whether a man is being reactively abusive by reacting a certain way when you bring things to his attention that he may not want to deal with, that form of abuse is no different than physical abuse, except the scars are invisible. I don't think that what we see happening in the world today is a result of us hating each other. I think that it is a result of the war against the soul. That's what this is about. This is about higher consciousness. As human beings, we are souls and we are here to learn to evolve. Earth is a school. So I wanted to offer you some tools. I have written an ebook for men and for women where you can look at 8 points in your astrological natal chart. I tell you exactly how to do it, so it's definitely beginner friendly. And you're able to pinpoint soul contracts, pinpoint your inner demons. You're able to see why some of your childhood traumas occurred so that you can take the pain and turn it into purpose. And hopefully even be able to change the trajectory of your bloodline. Both of those books are available right now on the website. I also have The Functionary, which goes deep into etymology, syntax. He calls it infinitions because words create reality. Words create thought forms. The world is created from the words. And for a lot of us right now, you may have went most of your life never having to deal with the stuff that you're dealing with now. It's uncomfortable, but it is for our benefit. Not only did I write an ebook, I also have the Dark Feminine ebook to help you to be able to use that energy for your healing process. And being someone who was deeply afraid of people being angry with me, someone who can't sleep if people are disappointed in me, it would disturb my sleep, my appetite. That was because of my conditioning, codependency. When I'm in survival mode, I'm more likely to go into fawning versus fight. I'm more likely to go in freeze versus flight. And so a lot of us are holding these emotions inside of our body and inside of our organs. A lot of organ failure is actually due to emotions. Traditional Chinese medicine taught me a lot about that. And I've been working with one of the best traditional Chinese medicine doctors in the world and learning the connections. I also have the coven where I teach simple somatic exercises that you can do that take no more than 5 or 10 minutes. And when I tell you this was life-changing for me, it absolutely was. So going no contact with my biological family broke my heart over and over again. And there were days that the depression was so severe, I couldn't even figure out how I was going to get through the next day. Learning about dark feminine energy and connecting with dark mothers helped me. The shadow work helped me. But one thing was missing, the somatic work, the subconscious reprogramming. So I wrote an album as I have went through these things and done thousands of readings. I wrote an album based on the collective of the feminine and the masculine. I have songs that touch both because we are all both. That way, the sonic weapons that we call music that has been just, it's insidious when you look at the way our culture was programmed through music. So I took a lot of these alchemical teachings, affirmations, mantras, studied frequencies to be able to infuse that into lyrics. Because in times of war, art brings balance. It helps us to heal. It helps our minds to finally get a break from all the things that are happening and all the stuff that come up on our news feed. So I'm going to put the link to everything in the description. And if you want to go deeper, if you're into conspiracy theories, which I don't even think is called that anymore. I'm someone who has been dreaming about the future my whole life and started uploading in 2006, and it's all coming true. So there are a lot of things I cannot say here. That's on Patreon. If you're in a tight spot, I do have a free tier, and you still have access to a lot of content and information that cannot be posted anywhere else. And I'm continuing to build and add content there. So relationships is only one aspect of what it's going to take for us to shift the paradigm. It's a huge aspect because relationships are the highest form of alchemy. And just think, what would be something that would make you proud to give to your children and your children's children, or just anybody that you cross paths with that you would like to be a positive influence to? And for me, that's feeling like I did the best that I could to leave the world better than it was when I got here in this incarnation. And that has been my goal. That has always been my goal. So yes, I'm talking about relationships in this video, but you might see me tomorrow talking about aliens, and I'll connect the dots for you. So again, being an oracle allows me to open the Akashic records and share information. And my goal is to reduce human suffering, to teach us how to alchemize it, and hopefully to allow us to be able to have better relationships, better careers, to do things because we love doing what we do, not because we have to. Because without it, the world will continue to descend into chaos. And dissension is a big part of ascension. You cannot have one without the other. But how you go through alchemical states, how you go through transformations, that is a whole different topic. And I have so many other tools. I cannot put it all in one video, but I'm going to put all the links in the description. Find what resonates and commit yourself to being a better version of yourself and do the best that you can. That's all that we can do. It's going to get a little rough. It's going to be a bumpy ride as we move through 2026 up until 2029, especially. The Mayan prophecy calendar, that's on my Patreon as well. And it gives you an idea of what's happening on a collective karmic level. And so it makes everything make sense. All right, y'all. See you in the next video.
Yeah. Higher, I take you higher. Sacred, that sacred fire. We break the matrix, we burn